Welcome back to the channel. My name is Adam Smith, and inside this game showcase, we're going to dive straight into the setup for Phantom Epoch. For those that are unfamiliar with the game, it is a cooperative tactical combat role-playing board game with a persistent choice-driven campaign that blends sci-fi and fantasy themes together. In a galaxy where the secrets of interstellar travel have been lost to time and primitive species war over ancient technology, players are thrust into missions to stop an encroaching threat. As players complete missions on numerous planets with a wide variety of biomes, they will discover the true nature of their enemy and can unearth the rich story of the world of Phantom Epoch. Now, Phantom Epoch has an epic campaign within. If you're playing for the very first time and learning the basics, I recommend inside the mission book A and B, you find the tutorial in the very first handful of pages, and that will handhold you through the learning experience. However, you can also watch this video as I'm going to be diving past the tutorial into a mission, a few missions into the campaign. We'll be going ahead and setting things up. I'll show you how things are set up for that mission and also do a couple changes to the characters to get them ready for that particular mission as if we've played up to that point in time. This will give you a better, more full picture view of what the game has to offer and maybe even help you learn the game that much faster beyond what the tutorial can offer. Now, before we get into the mission, I'm going to set up and play with you guys. I want to show you the tutorial mission inside mission book A and B. You'll see it's called Tutorial Mission Awakening. When you begin your own campaign, this will set the stage and the story forward as you get into Phantom Epoch. Missions throughout the campaign will come in various sizes, shapes, and layouts throughout the entire campaign. Also, as you go through each of these sections, and of course the tutorial being a little bit more wordy as it's onboarding you to the game, will eventually get you to these orange bar, red bar areas, which will tell you to stop reading until a specific objective or event in the game has occurred. And as I jump forward in the campaign a few missions, we get to the mission called Meeting with Divinity. And at the very front of the mission, you'll also see the planet that mission associates itself with. Now, when you start your very first campaign, you'll use a campaign pad to put your name at the very top, the characters you've created. You'll track your fame across the 3 known planets. And as you saw moments ago, the mission we're going on comes from this planet right here. So the mission tracking shows which ones are available. You'll check those off as they become available and then check them off as you complete them. And you've got a notes section down below as well. We'll be diving into gameplay for this mission in the future, but for right now, we need to create our characters. The base box of the game will provide you with 4 classes of characters to choose from. You'll see we have the Ranger, Warrior, Healer, and Rogue. Each one of them comes with their own emblem on the front of a tuck box as well as a tuck box itself with some included components for that class. At this point, you'll choose a class for each character you're going to have inside your game. As I'm going to be playing multi-handed solo with 2 characters, I'll be selecting 2 of these classes. For my campaign, I've decided to pair up a Rogue and a Healer. Next, you open up the tuck boxes, and inside you'll find the class dashboards. Each tuck box will have character action cards inside. You're going to find 10 basic ones, which I've got face down for each of the classes right now. And then you'll find ones with a point cost up in the top right-hand corner. For example, a 1, and then a 2, 3, and a 4. You're going to place those 4 cards for each class back inside the tuck box. The SP cost of each of the cards can be found in the top right-hand corner. For the 4, they're going back in the tuck box. And as you progress in the campaign, these are cards you'll be able to add into your deck of cards going into missions in the future. Now it's time to choose your character species. You can do this by looking at the artwork and choosing which one you want to play as just based on looks alone, or you can flip it over and find more information about each of the species in terms of their HP and AP and their passive ability that is tied to the species itself. You can see the different options here. So I'm going to go ahead and select 2 of these to represent the characters I have in play. Once you know which species you want to be, you'll place them inside of the green outlined hollow area of your dashboard. My healer is going to be a Slink with an HP of 13 and AP of 11, and it says guard +1 against ranged attacks. And for my rogue, I've chosen a Growlic with 17 HP, AP of 9. It says when converting an action card to an attack, you get to add +1 to the attack. Once you know your species, it's easier to find the miniature that corresponds to that species. Grab that miniature. You're going to also grab a base and a dial, and I'll show you how to assemble these. So grab an HP tracking base of a color you want, and I've got blue here for this one, as well as a +10 HP disc, which is represented by the white one. First, take your miniature, then the HP tracking base, and you're going to place this underneath. You'll notice right away there's an arrow on the bottom of the miniature, so that's going to correspond to wherever the HP level of the character is. And as we talked about moments ago, once it snaps on, the HP of this one is 17. But we don't have 17 on here, so we need that white base to denote we've got 10 HP. So this one is going to attach underneath of that to denote that we have 10 HP plus whatever is on the actual HP dial for a total of 17. So we simply just go ahead and we turn this blue blue, or we can even turn the miniature technically to the 17 like so. The arrow is just pointing to it like that. Now, if you need to remove things, very easy. You just simply turn it over, grabbing the white portion only when it needs to come off, and just slowly slipping it off. If you need to take the next layer off, you come from the back and you push on the bottom of this while holding the miniature. Don't yank on it aggressively. If you just push in, it will pop off nicely and it will not damage the miniature. So once fully assembled, it'll look like this. Just place it next to your dashboard for now. We'll be placing them into the mission later on. Do this for both characters. Slink, our healer, has 13 HP, so 10 on the white and then 3 on the HP tracker dial. We go ahead and place this next to the dashboard just like we did for the Growlithe. The final thing that each character is going to need from character creation is going to be one of these character sheets. Each one will get one. They'll place their name, their class, their species, the campaign, their tracked Nova cells, which is very important, their tracked available skill points, also very important, how much owned equipment they have and what that is, the purchase action cards they picked up over time if you want to keep track of them to make sure you don't mess them up inside the tuck box, owned attachments, owned items, and completed mission tracking along the bottom. That's going to do it for character creation and character setup, but we will come back for a couple things to do with our characters towards the end of this video. Now let's move over to the mission setup. So we take a look at mission book A and B, opening them up to the pages of the mission we're going on. We know it's going to be meeting with Divinity. We read the introduction at this point, but I'm going to leave that to part 1 of gameplay. However, when setting up, you're going to want to keep a close eye to the actual introduction section of the game, as it'll tell you your objective as well as any special things you might need to place inside of the mission itself. We'll take a look at the actual mission layout here because that will also give us an idea as to what kind of tokens we might need to place, like orbs, treasures, or other mission-specific tokens. Now here's a top-down look at the mission layout we'll be going on. You'll see a number of highlighted areas like the stairs, for instance, here and here. Any dark outlined areas in blue is known as destructible terrain, things like walls or crates. There's also 3 doors. There's a compass over here, which we'll talk more about later on, that comes into gameplay. And then there's indestructible terrain, which is outlined in light blue here and here. We've got 5 spaces for chosen spots for our heroes to come into the mission at. We'll do this towards the end of the video. And then we know which enemies are coming in based on the introduction section of this mission. We saw this artwork, so it lets us know the human sentry is the one that's coming in, and it's coming in based on the number of characters we have in play. We have 2, so it's going to have a spawning here and here, but nothing for this one unless we had 4 in our party. Now find the adversary description cards based on the introduction section telling us which enemies are coming into play. The human sentry for this one. You'll also see a difficulty star rating in the top left-hand corner. Make sure that matches the star rating of the mission, which will be found in the top left-hand corner of the mission book A, where the title of the mission is shown. We'll go ahead and place this into one of these 3 slots on the playmat right here. And here's exactly where you'll find the difficulty star rating for the mission. Each of these adversary description cards are going to be double-sided, so you'll see a single star difficulty level on one side, and if you flip it over, you'll see a double star on the opposite side. Now you are able to adjust the difficulty of a mission by choosing regular adversaries with a higher or lower difficulty rating, but the attachment rewards at the end of the mission are still based on the mission difficulty, not the adversary difficulty. However, the number of Nova cells each adversary drops when defeated corresponds to the adversary difficulty as normal. Nova cells in Phantom Epoch can be considered like currency in the game. Now, if your mission is calling for a boss, you're going to grab any boss adversary boards and get them into play, but this mission doesn't call for it, so we'll skip right past that. Now, each adversary in the game in its own name is going to determine the species and also the class of that enemy, which is pretty cool. So you can see human sentry is what we set up down here. So for the species, it's human, as we grab the human deck, shuffling it up, placing it to the right of that adversary. And then we're going to go ahead and find another deck relating to the class. And again, the class is right in the name of the adversary, human sentry, so sentry is the class. We find that deck, shuffling it up and placing it to the right of where we have the species deck. A nice bonus to this is it makes finding the decks of cards associated to each adversary that much easier. And just like we did for our characters, we're going to go ahead and assemble the standees for these enemies. We know we have 2 of them coming in, and we can set their bases to 10. We do not need the white dial on the bottom because the HP tracker dial goes to a maximum of 10. So we've set both of them. Let's place them in the mission. So we got a couple of human sentries guarding a door right here. That'll do it for enemy placement. Now let's go ahead and create the event deck. You're going to have a deck which is specific to rounds 1 to 5 and another deck specific to rounds 6+. You're going to draw, after shuffling each deck independently, 5 cards off the top of this deck, placing them on top of this deck. The remaining cards that are sitting here will go away, and you've created the event deck. So I've drawn my random 5 off the top of this deck. These are going to be placed right on top, and nothing is shuffled at this point. It's just placed off to the side. That is your event deck. That's going to do it for the mission setup. Now let's move back to the characters, and we're going to do some final steps to get them ready for this mission. Now, earlier in the video, when we opened up the tuck boxes for each of the classes, not only were there action cards and a dashboard for the class inside, there was also mini cards like attachments and effects that character gets to have and bring in on their dashboard. So the healer here comes in with a hemorrhage inducer, which has a critical ability attachment to it, and a medical kit for the healer only, as it mentions right on the card. Simply slot these into the positions on the character's dashboard. And we'll do the exact same thing for our rogue. The rogue has one attachment to place. It's going to be this one here, the hidden barb, which also has a critical ability attached to it. Now for both characters, this is the standard setup from the very, very beginning going into the tutorial mission, but as we're playing a mission a few into the campaign, I've got a few extra things I've accumulated to this point. My rogue has adhesive grip, which has a spot for Nova to be placed in it to charge it up for usage. We'll go ahead with that in just a second, but up here you'll see a tier 1 Burkav card. This is an equipment card, and you'll see each of the slots pertains to either a head slot, a body slot, or a leg slot. So this is going to be the head slot, as you'll see when I flip it over. There are 3 tiers of equipment you can find for your character across each of the 3 planets. My rogue's head slot has a light Boranium horned helm. And going into the mission, both of these will be charged. As you go through the campaign, you will have Nova as a currency to use in a multitude of ways, and you can choose to charge up your equipped items before you head into a mission to have them ready, or you might not have any Nova to do so. The cards which use Nova will state right on them whether they're auto use or manual use. So you'll see the helm here is automatically used in a certain situation, whereas the adhesive grip below is something I can choose to do when I want it to happen. Now let's go ahead and get our healer equipped up to this point in the campaign. My healer also has a Burkav tier 1 equipment card, but this one's in a different slot, in the body slot, and then down here a Nova remedial kit. A Boranium reinforced breastplate to be exact, with a +1 initiative, as you'll see noted there in the bottom left hand corner. The healer will also charge up the Nova remedial kit going into the mission, and this is set as a manual usage. Now at this point, each of the characters can choose up to 2 items to bring with them. For the items that I currently have, it's just going to be health potions for each of them. As part of these final steps of setup, you're also going to be selecting which 10 cards your character is going to be bringing into the mission. And so once you start accumulating more cards than 10, you'll be able to decide which ones you like the most and start building out a deck that suits what you're trying to accomplish with that character. I'll be using the 10 starting cards, so I'm bringing all 10 in for the rogue and the healer. With our characters ready to go, let's bring their miniatures into one of the 5 positions available on this mission. That's going to do it for setup. You would now read the mission start section of the book and go into round number 1, but just a few things to mention to wrap up this how to set up video. The game comes with a great tray to organize all the tokens you'll need during gameplay, so you can place this tray within easy reach. Now you also have a Phantom Epoch upgrade board you'll have off to the side. As you progress through the campaign, you'll be unlocking specific rooms within Phantom Epoch, allowing you access to different things. So for instance, at this point in the campaign, we've unlocked the laboratory. This is a recess board, and after taking the token out, you can see inside the laboratory that we are able to open up the sealed laboratory deck. It gives us the ability to get inside of certain item cards, which were actually some of the cards we just placed on our characters moments ago, the health potions. And as you progress further in the game, more of these rooms will open up, providing you with more sealed content to explore for the very first time. As you saw during my game unboxing video, there's many decks and many things inside the box that you do not touch from the beginning of the campaign. And last but certainly not least are these awesome reference cards giving you the round flow, the player turn. You'll also see page numbers for more information on each one of these topics if you want to find more beyond the high level information. But this is great reference as you learn the game for the first time. Player attack flow, player defeat. You got the adversary turn here, the adversary defeat. Flipping over, you have the hazards broken out. You can run into fire, poison, and traps, what those do and how to deal with them. Condition tokens, beneficial ones are in blue. There's a few of them or a handful of them, and there's detrimental. Well, there's a few detrimental. Actually, there's quite a few. There's things like blinding, burning, frozen, for example, but they're all listed here. Those tokens that were found in the box I placed up top, I've got a full breakdown here when they come into the equation. And that, my friends, is going to wrap up my how to set up video for Phantom Epoch called Meeting with Divinity. I'm looking forward to showing you this in terms of gameplay in the next video. If you're not subscribed to the channel, definitely do so to be notified when that video drops. We're going to dig into this one and see if I can pull out a victory for you guys. That would be awesome, and show you how this thing flows and operates, either help you get it off the shelf or if you're intrigued to pick it up in the future. Thanks again for watching, and as always, keep on rolling solo.